What inspired me? Well, I think always wanted to work in movies and film, TV, that sort of thing. Went to school for it, so it was a matter of what was it? Met Brandon Farmahini. It was I shouldn't say inspired because it was a matter of wanting to tell stories, and Rooster Teeth ended up being the place to do that because I knew Brandon, got an internship there, ended up working for him. So, yeah.
Yeah, my answer's pretty similar. Want to tell stories, and this became an awesome place to do it. I've known Bernie for a while. Here in Austin, we both made videos for the internet for a long time, and then finally got the chance to work together, and it's just been awesome.
This weekend's episode saw the reintroduction of Locust, who has been a fan favorite character for a couple seasons. Given your druthers, what characters would you like to bring back for future seasons, if you had the option?
Oh, well, I think we talked about it at the panel. If for not paying attention to continuity, I always liked York. York's fun, but there's no way to do that really unless we go back in the timeline, a story that's way earlier.
Yeah, or invent a time machine.
There we go. Yeah. Let's get a DeLorean in here. York comes out, says something witty.
That's a great question. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of people in the cast, plenty, and I don't feel like the story needs more people on Xboxes.
Let's bring back Caboose's brother Cecil.
Yeah.
Was that?
Yeah.
Just in the background somewhere.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
What have been some of the challenges with animating in Halo 5 in comparison to what else the previous Halo?
Do you want to bring out the list?
Man, I should have printed it out. Halo 5 has each Halo engine has its own challenges, its own pros and cons. Halo 5, I think, there are just some little glitches, when you're walking over different textures, the legs will pop. Yeah, they'll freak out a little bit if you're trying to do a walk. So doing long dolly shots following somebody walking down a hall, those can get really challenging. But what I like about Halo 5 is that when somebody does walk, they don't bring their gun up like they do in Halo 4. So that's a nice little trade-off there. But yeah, I mean, this is the first time we're working in Halo 5, so we've just been discovering all the little let's say nuances.
Yeah.
That
Halo 5 also does really weird stuff to color.
Yeah.
Depending on map and where someone is in the map.
Tucker can look, he can look like Church in
Simmons
some
can look like
scenes.
Sarge. Lopez
Yeah.
can look like Griff. I have to sometimes manually color correct every character just so that you can tell who's who in a scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's a giant pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Development. How much time goes into machinimating versus animation versus other stuff, scripting and voice acting?
I guess that starts with the script, right?
Well, yeah, that's the short answer to that question is it really depends on the script. I would say a normal script comes together in about a week, a couple days of outlines, a couple drafts, and then a couple final revisions. Voice recording could take probably, maybe a day for every 3 or 4 episodes if you add in all the time together. It's usually stretched out over a couple of weeks. Editing the voices into a timeline in Premiere usually takes about 3 hours. Machinimating will take about a week,
Depending on the episode, yeah.
between 4 and 7 days. And then animating that when it's all done, if it's one animated shot, it'll take 2 or 3 hours. And if it's a big animated sequence, it'll take 2 or 3 weeks. So it's very dependent on the episode, I guess, is the answer to your question. But most episodes, we have a weekly release schedule. Most episodes take about a week's worth of work. Different departments are working on different episodes, but it all adds together to be about a week for all the teams.
How often do you guys find yourselves doing rewrites on the scripting or even in the midst of doing machinimating at all? I'm sure there's a whole hierarchy of people that the scripts go through before you even start doing recording of it.
Yeah, so I'll write 3 drafts of a script, and then I'll send it to Miles, and he'll point out all the parts that are CBB. which stands for could be better. I learned that on the first script I wrote because there was CBB written everywhere. And then he and I will go back and forth 3 or 4 times to get a final script. And usually at that point it doesn't change. And that's not always the case. There was a scene recently we had to change because I had it as like a walk and talk, you know, like a Sorkin, 2 characters just walking and talking. And then because of the Halo 5 stuff we discussed, it was like, well, we're going to try to find some other way to do it instead.
Yeah, it's so like we could get it done, but like depending on how long it is, you know, it might be easier. It's like if we can like break it up, you know, we'll walk for a little bit and then maybe like let's find a place for them to stop so we can get the shots in. Otherwise, we could be at it like, you know, doing it again and again and again. Hopefully their legs don't glitch, but by the time that happens, maybe I was walking too fast, or maybe Josh was walking too fast, or we have our mission assistant Austin from the Lone Few. They did the GTA like animated adventure type shorts that we had. You know, it's just like by the time there are no glitches on the legs, anything else could have gone wrong. So it makes getting those takes a lot harder.
And sometimes the theater files on Halo 5
Yeah.
just vanish.
Yeah, that's happened before. That's fun.
You
So,
finally get the thing and it's just gone.
yeah.
But every time we have to make a change in the episode to accommodate something like that, I always try to make sure that whatever we change it to is even better than the original idea, so it's never like a derivative of that original scene. Like in the example of what we're talking about right now, I think what we ended up with is even better than the original walk and talk, because there's like a few added jokes and like a new level of absurdity to the scene that wasn't there originally. So,
Do you mind if I just throw in a follow-up real quick?
yes,
Sure.
what's up?
That being said, do you guys find that it's you have the ability to stretch your filmmaking fundamental ideas a little bit more in this case, or you find that doing that is more challenging because you're filming the game engine, or you kind of somewhere in between?
I guess it depends, because machinima inherently is a little bit constricting because, you know, you can't see their face, so, you know, it's just the head bobs. But, you know, depending on you learn how to work with it, so the way like a character does their head bob can like reveal a lot about the character. So Caboose is like real happy, so he's like he's like all over the place sometimes. Locust is a lot more subtle, so there are restrictions, but you do find a way to work around it. But yeah, I can't. I don't know. There are ways to work around it.
Yeah, it's mostly fun to try to be like, ooh, I have to convey this emotion and I don't have eyes to do it, you know, so how are we going to do it? It's a lot of it is like the length of the pause before they speak the line is how much emotion they have. Little things like that.
How much of setting and stage direction is in the script itself, and how much is left up to animators and machinimators?
That's a pretty collaborative process. It also depends on the scene in particular. Sometimes I'll have like a very specific idea because I'm sort of setting up a visual joke and I need someone standing next to a certain background or other character. And then the rest is just in the machinima and directing process. We sort of figure out where the best place for people to be.
Yeah, we'll come in. You'll come in like before we start the episode. We'll go over. He has overheads laid out of like, okay, this is like the room that they're going to be in. Here's where everybody's standing. Here's like some of the camera placements. You know, as long as these work.
Yeah.
So and then like we take those camera placements. So like, all right, he wants it to look about here. Let's make it look. You know, let's figure out the best placement for this so it looks pretty.
Yeah.
It goes from there. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of and the guys are really awesome at taking my imagined overheads of a scene and turning it into like a real scene that actually like works and cuts together really well. So.
But they're actually really helpful, so we don't have to like sit there and be like, okay, what did he want in this scene? It's like, okay, we have a better blueprint, and it like speeds the process along.
Yeah, a lot of it's just sort of like, all right, there's 12 people in this room, and they all have one line each. So who's standing next to who, and how are we going to show it so that it's not just singles the whole time? It's fun. It's a lot of directing for TV stuff.
Now talk about what characters were the worst for y'all to write and work with in Red vs. Blue for the panel, but which ones are y'all favorite to work with?
I could write Sarge dialogue probably for the rest of my life and be perfectly happy just doing that.
Listening to Matt do all of his ad libs from the booth
Yeah.
is just hilarious. Oh
Yeah.
man.
He in episode 14, there's a line where he's like lying on the sofa and he's like, "I'm a rooster that lost his teeth."
Yeah.
He made that up in the
Yeah.
booth.
Well,
He's so good at that.
He did one in another season. It was like Great Monopoly's Top Hat or something like that. So it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, easy peasy lemon squeezy. I start saying that in my head all the time now. Yeah, I like writing Sarge and Wash and Griff the best. Those are my top three. Wash because he's a smart ass and he says very few words that are always really funny. And Griff just because I just channel my inner lazy slacker self and it's just comes out naturally. I took 2 naps yesterday.
Yeah.
So I like Griff.
Yeah. Caboose is fun too because like in terms of shooting, he's the like one that gets to pull off like Looney Tunes style physics. So like when he appears behind Temple in one of the earlier episodes, like he's just talking, and all of a sudden he's just up there. That's just fun to shoot and set up. So
yeah, I learned this season. I've learned working with Joel on Caboose's lines is a lot of fun.
oh yeah,
I've learned that I actually don't have to direct him at all. Literally, he'll come in, he'll look at the script, he'll like stare at it, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna say a word. And then he'll just start doing things and continue to do things and then do new things and then just go off in insane directions. And then at the end, I just go, okay, cut. That's good. We got it.
It's fun when he breaks character. He's like, "Who am I talking to?" Okay, got it. Yeah, and then he goes back and
Yeah.
yeah.
So one of the interesting things about Red versus Blue is that unlike RvB or Can, you guys are partnered up with Microsoft. Are there any like difficulties working alongside with them to create Red versus Blue, or is it just like a sequence you guys are totally control over?
Has there been stuff?
I think
before?
the only major rules that I can think of are like we can't be none of the Spartans can look like Master Chief. So we can't have like the Mark 6 armor with green or something that looks really close to green. Otherwise it's like, no, that looks too close to Master Chief. We don't want it to be, too confusing. I think one time there was like, this is before me, there was like a joke where Griff was smoking. Yeah, I think they were like a little annoyed about that, but I don't know all the details about that one. So
Yeah, no, we send them all the scripts and they don't say, you can't say that about the UNSC or anything like that. So
I could imagine if it was something like, and then Caboose killed Locke and he was best friends with Master Chief and
Yeah.
they found Cortana and it was all great and everything
we
was
should try to
perfect.
just throw that in
Yeah.
an episode and see
Yeah.
if they notice.
Right.
If they're even paying
Just
attention.
like just destroy their
Just
plot.
break their
They went
continuity.
to Reach. They went back in time and saved it.
Yeah,
Everybody's
yeah.
alive. It's
Turns
great.
out
yeah.
Simmons is Cortana. Be a time travel mishap.
There we go. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they'd have something to say about that, but
We'll find out.
mhm.
So the content of all those rules, would that mean that like at some level Red vs. Blue is canon in the Halo universe? If you're sending them all your scripts and stuff, is that like just a default?
Do we send them the scripts?
We do. We do. We do, and they. I think they sign off. It's definitely not Halo canon. It's more like some characters in the Marvel universe exist within a certain continuity, and then some exist within their own sort of like silly. Oh, this is random team up or special thing. So they're technically. They share similar kind of universes, but I don't think they're the same dimension. Let's just call it different dimensions. There we go.
To kind of bounce off of that, because I was wondering, because even if it is an offshoot of Halo, it's also the second longest running sci-fi thing, other than what Doctor Who maybe. And you guys are coming onto this after this legacy. Is there a challenge in script writing and coming up with these new ideas, having to keep in mind the continuity? Do you know the continuity well enough yourselves? Is there a guidebook, or does Miles just know all of it anyway?
Are you talking about just Red vs. Blue?
Yeah, just Red
Yeah.
versus Blue continuity. Yeah.
It's like combination, like because it's like Miles knows a lot of it, but then like he may not think of everything, and then I think like Bernie knows a lot of it, but
Yeah, you pointed out that stuff about Carolina's armor, which I hadn't thought about at all.
yeah.
There's a lot to keep track of for sure. I made a abridged Bible. I did a watch through and basically like made notes the entire time, but there are just so many details. And so many of the early seasons are like just insane with random plot directions and like crazy facts about characters that like keeping track of it all is very challenging. And a lot of times Miles will point out things or you'll point out things and I'm just like, right. Like I may have forgotten about that, but that's okay.
But I don't think like there's not one person that like has it all in their head, you know,
Yeah.
because I'm sure there's stuff that I've missed that Miles picked up on and vice versa. Yeah.
I have a question about that one. Is there any time that you produced an episode and then you looked at it later and realized, oh wait, we messed up. There was a plot point that we
Like a
or the character detail.
seeing a plot hole after? I mean, if there was, well, we're not going to talk about it. I mean, there's
Yeah.
always like little mess ups where you're just like, you know, that's not the right gun or something like that. But yeah, I think, you know, I know there's some that's been released and we're just like, you know, can't get that. But
Yeah, I can't think of anything
over
off the top
15
of my head,
seasons.
yeah.
I know there was one that we had to reshoot before it was released. When in season 11 we had put the wrong chess piece on Tucker, and like we just didn't notice it until after we shot everything, put it in the timeline, and yeah, so we had to go back, do that scene again, you know. But that little stuff like that will happen, little continuity errors. I mean, you see them in big movies too, so yeah.
Is there anything you wanted to include in this season that wound up on the cutting room floor?
There are a bunch of lines of dialogue that got cut, either in the script or when I've been editing the episodes, that I think I should have maybe kept in. Little things, tiny things, just, you know, here or there. In terms of bigger things, yeah, not really. I had a plan for basically every episode of the entire season back in like October, and I pretty much made sure all my bases were going to be covered in terms of like, you know, every character arc and plot and stuff like that. You know, probably over time I'll have more things like that, but for now, yeah, so far so good.
What ultimately led to the decision to leave the chorus story and pick up where you started now for this season?
I think that would just be the change in writers, directors, because Miles had his arc that he pitched to Matt and Bernie, and then when that was done, you know, it was like to keep it fresh and interesting, they wanted to bring in like a new take, you know, new writer, director. So I think it was motivated by that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to include his characters, supporting roles, you know, bringing back the lieutenants through Dr. Gray, Kimball. But those are really his characters, and I would feel a little weird continuing his story, you know, just sort of like, this is not the continuation of the Chorus trilogy, this is just, you know, a new direction for the characters, and, you know.
Yeah, and since it was the trilogy, a lot of the stuff on Chorus was really wrapped up.
Yeah,
at
it was
the
pretty
end of
resolved, so.
yeah.
I mean, you know, could have done like a season at the Temple of Procreation or whatever, but that would have just been silly.
These characters have been going through all of this for 15 seasons. How do you handle the idea of character fatigue, keeping it interesting for the audience and keeping the characters from having complete breakdowns about, oh God, we're in another mess? We're addressing it with Griff a bit this season, but how do you tackle that overall?
You know, I wrote a journal at the beginning of the season, kind of comparing the Reds and Blues to the X-Men, and how the X-Men managed to stay fresh in the comic books after being around for a lot longer than 15 years, you know. And it's because when a new writer jumps on X-Men, you know, they're expected to take established characters in new directions or deal with things in their past or deal with relationships that haven't been dealt with. And I just took an approach like, hey, they asked me to write X-Men, I'm going to do something fun with Cyclops that's never been done before. So that's the basic version of it, you know. And I think that, like, what's so exciting about characters that have been around for so long is that they have so many established needs and wants, you know, that just exploring, like, following those needs or wants down a twisting alleyway of a season, you get to find out new things about them through that, you know. I found it kind of randomly the day before RTX, but I have a notebook where sort of very, very early on in the season, I wrote like every character, and I wrote what that character like really wants now at this stage in their life, and what they maybe really need to be like a more fully formed human, and that sort of became my Bible for the stories of the season.
We'll do one last question. Okay. No, no question?
One more. What inspired you guys early on, starting out in this business as far as characters, comics, writers, that kind of thing?
What inspired me? I mean, like,
Or influence.
my favorite movie of all time is Back to the Future. So that's like a huge inspiration of just how it's like, I don't know, it's just so well done, where it goes from like, the funny moments and then like seamlessly into like serious oh no moments, and just like the way it was written and the way it was directed. It's just like, there's not a moment that, my dad likes to say, when you're watching a movie, you should be on a ride, like, going down a river, or you're on a roller coaster, where it's like you have these dips up and down, but the whole time that immersion's never broken. You're in the moment. It's, you're enjoying it for what it is, and I think that movie does it great. After that one, like, in terms of favorite movies, because like a bunch of movies inspire me. Raiders of the Lost Ark, Star Wars, just like, all the great movies. Yeah, so those inspire me to be like, just watching them. I think that all the visuals were really what inspired me to be like, I want to make something like this.
A lot of movie pieces.
Yeah, I have pretty similar response. All the Lucas and Spielberg movies. I was a huge Sam Raimi fan when I was growing up. Army of Darkness and Evil Dead 2 and Dark Man and all those movies.
It's good, yeah.
And then when I was in film school, I discovered Red vs. Blue was taught in my animation class, and that was kind of mind-blowing to me, because it's like, whoa, you could make sci-fi comedy and not do it through Hollywood. You know what I mean? Not do it in a way that's going to take me like 6 months to make an episode, in a way that's fun and fast, and that really influenced the way I made movies for like the next 10 years. And then also, back in the day, Dan Harmon, who's gone on to do Rick and Morty and Community, he used to have a website called Channel 101, and on that website he made these amazing storytelling tutorials where he taught character development and story structure and all that stuff, and that was a huge, huge, huge influence on the way I've kind of become a writer and stuff like that.
Cool.
That's awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming out.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.